What's up everyone, my name is Barrett Stover. I am the owner of RSP. Today I want to take some time and tell you about the difference of what we do in here compared to maybe some other sports performance gyms. Number one, right off the bat, we worry about the person first, athlete second. So one of the things that we want to focus on when someone's walking through the door is we're addressing a holistic wellness approach. So they're getting work in their spiritual wellness, physical wellness, mental wellness, and emotional wellness. If we're developing all those areas of a person, they're going to succeed even more on the field. And even when their sports career ends, they'll have a super solid foundation for life, be successful in anything they do. Another differentiator for our programs is that we want to teach independence and maturity through our small group training. So you can see what's going on behind me. Everyone's doing their own individualized program, which is another perk of what we do here. But we stress the small group training environment because it breeds competition, and it's not one of the coaches holding someone's hand and dragging them through the workout. They have to pay attention to detail, they have to read and execute what they're supposed to do, they have to fill in their own weights. By doing this, we're teaching them to take ownership of their training and their program, which should translate later in life to taking ownership of your job, or when you're in college on a team, or even if you make it to the pros, taking ownership of your training and your job on a day-to-day basis. The first thing we do as soon as an athlete walks in the door is we take them through the evaluation. What we're looking for with this evaluation is movement, mobility, power, and then we put you on the Proteus to get some exact rotational power and acceleration numbers as a baseline. So when we go through the movement section and the mobility section, we're laying you on the table, we're looking at hip, shoulder, in range of motion, seeing if there's any big red flags in your mobility or your movement screening that could lead you to be more prone towards injury. Once we finish up with that piece, we're gonna come out, do some jumping here. We'll do a broad jump and a lateral broad jump. That way we're getting a horizontal power and a lateral power. So we can start teasing out, hey, maybe you're really good moving forward and backwards, but you're not as good side to side, and that's what we'll spend time in the program doing. We'll follow our jumping section with a vertical jump and look at a few different jumps there to again see what is your overall power output, which is a combination of your weight and your vertical. We've run some numbers over the years to find out that with that power equation, almost all of our D1 guys are around 7,000 watts. So being at 7,000 watts between your body weight and your vertical does not make you a D1 athlete, but almost all of our D1 athletes are there. So it's a good box to check if you're trying to get to that level. Once we look at the vertical, we'll take you over to the Proteus, run you through a Proteus evaluation that we have. That will give you a ton of data on how you're moving in all three planes of motion, and it's the only machine that I know of that can measure your power and acceleration in a transverse plane. So when we're talking about baseball and golf, being able to rotate faster and more powerfully is something that machine is going to tell us what we need to work on and how we're making improvements as we go. Another huge benefit of what we do here for our athletes at RSP is the monitoring system that we've recently implemented. So what we're going to do is have our guys jump and weigh in, and the more advanced athletes, the more serious athletes will also do a grip strength and a plyo push-up. So we're getting a full body quick scan every single day. What type of state is your CNS, your central nervous system in? Are you worn out? Are you peaking? Where are you? And we can adjust if we need to on the fly, or we know we're exactly where we need to be with this program, and we can start hitting and hammering you a little bit harder. Something that not many places do is that daily insight into how the athlete's feeling physically, and we do it with objective data so that there's no subjective, hey, I don't feel great, or I didn't sleep well. We know exactly what the body's doing every single day. The other thing with the weigh-in every day is the body mass has a huge correlation to both throwing and exit velocity. So if you are severely underweight for what you need to be, for instance, if you're a varsity baseball player and you weigh 155 pounds, we have to get weight on you. Punching you in the face with the data of you are underweight every single day, and if you are making gains or not, should motivate the athlete to gain weight, knowing that he's going to be checked every single day. So when he goes home, it's not like, hey, should I eat more? I have to eat more, or the scale is going to show it tomorrow. So that's one way where we've seen athletes making huge jumps, and again, that's going to positively affect your throwing velocity and your exit velocity when you're hitting the pitcher. Since we added the Proteus 2 years ago, it has become an enormous part of our evaluation and training process, and it continues to grow in how we use it and the information we get from it. One thing that the athletes really love about it, it ranks them. So we have that natural competition added in, and it tells them how much they've improved. So without us even doing anything, this athlete went through a test. He's 85th percentile for power for high schoolers and 89th percentile for high schoolers for acceleration. He is going to be playing baseball at Division I school, so obviously very high level athlete here. We can also see things like, hey, you improved 54% since your last test. So the athlete sees the improvement that he or she's making constantly, And obviously if they're doing that, they should be more bought in on the training process that we're taking them through. And then we also have a nice chart breakdown where you can see the numbers inside. The dotted line is the previous test, and the solid numbers on the outside are the current tests. So again, they have a visual of not only what they need to work on, but the improvements they have made while they've been training here from the first test and then the additional tests as we go on from there. Like I mentioned before, one of the beautiful things about this machine is that we can now look at power and acceleration in the transverse plane. So this is a shot put throw, so we're loading, pushing, using a full body sequencing here, moving in all 3 planes of motion. And we can look and see, hey, power's really good. He's going up, he's trending up, he's in a higher percentage for the power, but the acceleration's actually a little bit lower than we would anticipate for someone at this caliber. So we can work on his rotational acceleration now and back off as much power work. So a simple thing there is instead of using a 12-pound med ball for a rotational throw, we use a 4-pound med ball. There's lots of other ways to train acceleration, and we can go into that in a different video, but that's the gist of how we can take out these fine details from what we find in the evaluation to really help the athlete through our individualized programming. Because of the amount of data that Proteus has now, they're actually finding out training details like with taller athletes, we want to worry more about the power output and less about the acceleration. On the flip side, with shorter athletes, we want to worry more about the acceleration and less about the power. Or another way to say that, the power number won't be as great as the acceleration. So now we can even take people by body type and start training them differently to help them, again, perform better on the field instead of trying to make everyone look exactly the same. Because obviously if you watch every sport, not every person on the field looks the same. So as you can see from our eval process and how we even treat and train athletes, our goal is to tease out every little detail we can to help that athlete succeed, whether it is a mindset issue with discipline, maturity, or lack of attention to detail, or if it is something performance related like lack of torso trunk acceleration. Either way, we want to help guys on both sides of the equation, and I think that really separates us from a lot of other sports performance training facilities. We also don't guarantee any results. Every person that walks in this door will usually say, hey, can you get me throwing 8 miles an hour faster in this amount of time? How many months before I start hitting the ball harder? We say, no idea. It is up to you as the athlete to make those results based off of how hard you work. With that, we do guarantee that we will push you, we will hold you accountable, and we will teach you how to be disciplined in your training and provide consistency. And usually if you're combining all those things, you're going to see really good results no matter what you're doing. So again, that should be a life lesson that carries over into any job, whether it is a professional athlete or you're a CPA. So if you're interested in training with us after hearing the information today, I'll put the link in the bio so you can fill out a form. We'll reach out back to you, set something up. If you want more content like this, please subscribe, like, leave a comment what you want to see in the future, and we'll get that out to make you better.